yeah, models don't work. Like, well, wait a second, guys. Like, you guys have your own models, right? Yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million, but like, well, that's a model. It may be just like you're pulling it out of the wind. And I'm doing a little bit more than pulling it out of the wind because I'm looking at like these graphs and stuff. You should absolutely buy something with Bitcoin. You should pay for Bitcoin. Go to the one restaurant in Atlanta that accepts Bitcoin and buy a steak with Bitcoin. Take a trip to El Salvador and book a hotel room in Bitcoin. It's good. I think we could get to 1 million within a decade. We could get to 1 million within 5 years, maybe, right? If things play out right.
Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoinzilla, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoinzilla offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoinzilla. Subscribe now. In this video, Fred Krueger will share his insights on why some experts are betting big on Bitcoin's $1 million mark and leaving gold in the dust. Is Bitcoin's trajectory predictable? Can we really forecast its value? Let's join Fred Krueger in this interview about these topics and more.
I'm happy that I'm helping out that model. I definitely feel like I've had an impact on the power law discussion because it's kind of like I didn't hear about Giovanni first. I saw my friend Stephen Perrinode, who's been tweeting about this stuff for years, right? And he's always had this power law. And I was like, okay, Stephen, this is kind of cool. You're looking at things on a log basis. And he was like, yeah, power law. And it didn't really click. But then I was like, went back to it. And I was like, I really love this power law stuff you're doing, Stephen. And then I published I put this thing out on Twitter. And then Giovanni just chimes in. He's like, wait, that is my power law. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I discovered it in 2014. So I'm like, great. You're a physicist. He's got this power law. You speak my language. Let's talk, man. So I felt like, when and I get along really well with Giovanni because we can kind of we speak the same kind of language, And so, I talk to him almost every day now, and I'm just like, what do you think of this? He's like, Fred, I found this new relationship. I'm, okay, well, okay, maybe, but so I definitely think the models I think the power law model is the best way to look at Bitcoin. And it's not just a model of the price, right? It's a model of everything that's around Bitcoin, right? And I think it will give you, anybody who spends a significant amount of time with this will give you a lot of conviction to hold Bitcoin over the long haul. It's like the best reason because here's the way I would describe it. First of all, let's just look at adoption, right? Because if you're buying into Bitcoin, you fundamentally believe that more and more and more people are going to be using Bitcoin, right? And the power law, you can start looking at, okay, how many people have 1 million sats? Okay, we can look at those addresses, right? You look at them and you're like, okay, there's 17 million people who have 1 million sats. 17 million addresses. And you can't say, well, people can have 2 addresses. Well, that's true, but the number of addresses is out there, right? It's out there on the block. Now you can look at that number leading up to today when you have 17 million of them. And you're like, oh my God, this thing goes up at a power of 2.5, right? Roughly. And it's very consistent. It's like if you put it in a log space, it's like a line with a slope of 2.5. It's really consistent. Then you're like, okay, well, that's great, but, that's not very much Bitcoin. What about if I took, 0.1 Bitcoin? You're like, okay, slope is now 2. Okay, what if I took 1 Bitcoin? Slope is now 1.4. And what if I took 10 Bitcoin? Well, the slope is now 0.7. So you have these power laws. Every single one of these things is a power law. And you're like, okay, well, that's a not chance, right? Now you take those numbers that I gave you, 0.7 for 10 Bitcoin, you take 2 for or 1.4 for 1 Bitcoin, 2 for 0.1 Bitcoin, and 2.5 for 0.01 Bitcoin. And then you plot those against Bitcoin, and you find it's a power law again, going negative power law, right? So now you got power laws of power laws, okay? So the adoption is clearly a bunch of power laws, right? It's just, there's no question. And by the way, this doesn't change whether the market's going up or down, right? It's just consistently adoption that's happening. Now you look at hash rate. Hash rate itself is a power law, right? Hash rate's going up at T to the power 12. And it's and the correlation is amazingly good. It's like 98%, right? So hash rate is T to the power 12. Then you look at price. Well, price is actually a power law too. And as crazy as Bitcoin looks like, if you just look at it in linear terms, right? You're like, wow, this thing went up like crazy in 2017, right? Did a 20x. Then it crashed and went all the way down to 3,500. Then it spent 2 years like on the floor. Then it, in late 2020, it bounced from 10,000 to 60,000. Then it spent 1 year there, double top, puked, went down to 15,000, and just 12 months ago, kind of resuscitated. That vision. Most investors look at that and they're like, well, that's way too volatile for me, man. I do not want to have anything to do with that kind of, circus, right? But if you look at it on a long basis, like, oh my God, this thing is actually pretty steady.
The alignment of the Bitcoin halving with cultural memes and the success of Bitcoin ETF like IBIT highlights the event's importance in the crypto market. With varying opinions on ETF, the trend shows a positive outlook for their role in investment portfolios. The focus remains on Bitcoin's influence on the financial sector. The disclosed emails between Nakamoto and Malmi enrich the narrative of Bitcoin's beginnings and its foundational philosophy. Nakamoto's vision continues to influence Bitcoin's trajectory in the evolving cryptocurrency landscape. Jamie Dimon's consistent anti-Bitcoin stance contrasts with JP Morgan's strategic engagement in the cryptocurrency space, illustrating the complex dynamics between personal beliefs and business operations in the evolving crypto industry.
Gold has really not been a useful thing for a very, very long time, right? Like I think gold was money in the 19th century, right? So I think, if you're looking 100 years ago, yeah, gold was kind of money, right? But gold ceased to be money a very long time ago. People say, well, you can't buy stuff, you can't buy coffee with Bitcoin. Well, you certainly can't buy it with gold either. You know what I mean? You can't do anything with gold other than bring it to a pawn shop and exchange it for dollars, right? That's about all you can do with your gold right now. So it's, I just feel like gold is not very useful. There's not really any scenario where gold's going to become like global currency of the world in the next 20 years, right? There's no growth curve to gold. There's no adoption. No, people aren't adopting gold, So I feel like, on the other hand, Bitcoin is absolutely gaining in adoption. Absolutely, like by all these metrics, more and more and more people are using Bitcoin to store money, right? And I think that, there's a clear growth curve to Bitcoin, not just to the price, but to the actual adoption of Bitcoin. There's growth in kind of Bitcoin technology, wallets, Lightning, a lot of things now, layer twos. So there's, Bitcoin has this growth story that gold just doesn't have. And so, I feel like the gold guys are just, they're just kind of like yearning for a world that never, wasn't even around when they were a kid. It's maybe around when their grandparents were kids, but it's just kind of like science fiction, at this point, like I don't see that it's a gold. I mean, gold is just not a contender for anything that's kind of in the 21st century, in my opinion. It's like this ancient, I kind of agree with Keynes. It's a barbarous relic, of a bygone era, So it's kind of cool. I own gold, but I'm not selling my gold that I own, but it's I wouldn't recommend anybody buy gold here, no point.
Last weekend witnessed a significant decline in Bitcoin prices that continued throughout the week, resulting in a $4,500 drop and erasing $167 million in BTC long positions within just an hour. Despite this turbulence, Unchained analyst Willy Woo forecasts a potential rise in Bitcoin's price to $650,000. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, remains skeptical about investing in Bitcoin ETF, preferring the actual asset. Former BitMEX CEO Arthur Hayes anticipates a downturn in crypto prices around the upcoming Bitcoin halving, choosing to abstain from trading during this period of expected market weakness. Following the Bitcoin halving event, on-chain fees climbed to over $240 per transaction just an hour later, and as of now, a high-priority transfer cost between $52 and $78 per transaction at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. The increasing fees have prompted a flood of comments from individuals in the crypto space, as this event is unprecedented in history. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to BitcoinZella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.